All right, equations of circles. We already defined a circle as a set of all points that are equidistant from a fixed point called the center of the circle. We already know that the distance r between the center and a point on the circle is called the radius. Now, the standard form of the equation of a circle with its center at 0, 0 is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Okay, now that would be a center 0, 0. If I think about this, what does this sound like when you say x squared plus y squared equals r squared? Pythagorean theorem, I heard. Did I hear something else, or was that you were saying it in a different way? It doesn't sound like Pythagorean theorem. And anybody thinking distance formula at all? You know that distance formula? It's always squaring stuff and adding stuff and finding the change in the x's, change in the y's. And if you solve this for r, it would be the square root of x squared plus y squared, right? So my point is they're very related. The distance formula, this one has a center at 0, 0, and this is the distance from the center, r. Now, let's graph one of those quick, and then we'll talk about when the center's not at the origin, or 0, 0. X squared plus y squared equals 9. The r squared part of this equation is a 9. To solve for r squared, we take the square root of both sides, and that would give us a r of 3. So the radius would be 3. The center of the circle is 0, 0. You count 3 to the right, 3 to the left, 3 up, and 3 down. And those are the only really accurate ones you can just count off. Then you draw or sketch a circle. My pen's stuck. There we go. I don't know why I do it that way. I could just keep going around, but sometimes I do a little bit better circle. Good enough. Yours will not be perfect. It's fine. Just don't make sure it doesn't look like a box of some weird sort or some kind of triangle diamond thing or whatever. That won't cut it. It needs to be roundish. Now, sometimes the center's not at the origin. You can move your circles all around. Then they're in this form, which is called the general equation. The general equation has HK being the center, meaning that's been shifted around from 0, 0. It's moved somewhere else. And the r is squared is still the same thing as in the original standard form. For this problem, this is the format. The h goes here for the center. The k, you put that value here for the center. And the radius, you take the square root of r squared, and that gives you r. Not r squared. You don't put whatever's here. You have to unsquare it. So you take the square root of r squared to get r. So let's do some examples. Anybody still need this? So for example, if this is in your format, x minus h quantity squared, which it is, plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared, I'm looking in the positions. There's your h, it's 2. It says minus, it matches, so I know it's positive 2. The format says y minus k, so right here, the k is a 1. What is the r value? First, you have to unsquare 4 squared. So that would be 4. R is 4. You then plot the points, or the center first, 2, 1. And then you are supposed to count right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Since it's not available on the grid, I don't know why we gave one that doesn't fit on, but I'll estimate it. It's about there. And then I'm going to go left, 1, 2, 3, 4. Up, 4, and down 4 from the center. And then sketch my circle. Right. In number 2, there is something going on right here. It's the format is x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So I'm just writing it the last time. I'm going to write it above every problem. I see it says plus 3. And it's supposed to say minus. So what does that tell you about the value of h? What would you have to put in for h to get it to turn into addition? You would actually have to put a negative there, okay? Because subtracting negative gives you a positive. So whenever it says plus, it's the opposite of the sign that you think it is. So this would be negative 3 for the h. The k, it does say minus 4, so k is 4. To find, we got r squared equals 25. So you take the square root of 25 to get r, and that would be 5. We then plot negative 3, positive 4. And then we got to count 5 right. Don't forget to count the x-axis and the y-axis when you're counting. Oops, I need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. I accidentally only went 4 on one of them. Fix that. There we go. And then above, 5, below 5. Can't see. All right, then sketch your circle. Notice a very tight little graph with very small spaces between the numbers. All right, number 3. What's the h if there is no number there? It's not 1, it's going to be a 0, right? And the k, this says minus 3. The format says y minus k, so k is a 3. R squared is 36. So we take the square root of 36 to get r, which would be 6. We often plot 0, 3 incorrectly. Make sure that you know that 0, 3 is vertically up 3 from the origin. Okay, it's not 3, 0, which would be right 3. You say it says don't go left or right, go up 3. Now I got to count 6 away from that in the 4 directions. So 6, 3, negative 6, 3 would be points. If you go up 6, you're going to go up to 9 and down to negative 3. All right, good enough. Got some circles graphed. I think you have to turn the page now. Equations of circles continued. All right, now they're giving us a circle. And we need to write the equation. So we got our standard form with the center at HK, radius at R. Write the equation of the circle shown in standard form. We're going to find the center. How can I find the center? One way, if you want to get, pinpoint it exactly, you can go to the very highest point on the circle and the very lowest straight down from it. You could draw in a diameter and then do that sideways. So the very most left point would be here at the negative 0, 3 is the name of it, and the very most right point. Then I can see that the center is at 4, 3. That's the center. Then you can count your radius by counting over 1, 2, 3, 4 from the center. So R is 4. So what I'm going to be doing is putting in 4 in for H. So I'll start off with X minus 4 quantity squared. Plus, I'm going to put in 3 for K. Y minus 3 quantity squared equals, and I'm going to put in 4 for R. So I'm going to have to put in 4 squared. R squared would equal 4 squared, which is 16. I expect it to be simplified. Good. Now write the standard form of the equation of the circle with the given radius whose center is the origin. Those would be like this: x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So this is going to be x squared plus y squared equals r squared is 10 squared, which would be 100. What's going to happen on this one? X squared plus y squared equals, now r squared is equal to the square root of 8 squared. Now your calc can help you with that. Second square root of 8. Now you can square that if you get out of there and hit squared. You'll find out that that is 8, and that's because square root and squaring are inverse operations. So this would equal 8. X squared plus y squared equals 8 is the equation. So if you get a radical radius, when you square it, it'll just be the number under the radical. Unless there's a number out front, and I don't want to get into that right now. Okay, given the center and radius of the circle, write the equation describing the circle. We're going to have all our points are in the form h comma k. You need to remember the format: x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. And you will be given this on a formula sheet. Of course, you have it in your ISN right now. But in the final exam phase, when we don't use our ISN, this formula will be on that formula sheet. Okay, so you got h is -1. I'm going to write this underneath the line where my answer is supposed to go, because it's going to be x minus -1 quantity squared plus y minus k is 4 quantity squared equals 5 squared. That is just substituting in the values of h and k and r into the format, and now I'm going to simplify. So I expect your answer to be x plus 1 quantity squared plus y minus 4 quantity squared equals 25. Right? Next one, I'm going to fill it in down here. X minus 1 quantity squared plus y minus -9 quantity squared equals, whoa, it says diameter is 12. I'm not supposed to plug in the diameter. What is the radius if the diameter is 12? Yeah, half of a diameter is the radius, so yes, 6. I heard someone say 6. So 6 squared goes at the end. Now we will simplify the equation. X minus 1 quantity squared plus y plus 9 quantity squared equals 36. That's how your answer needs to be at the end. Okay, of course there's got to be a little bit more to it, and this would be the harder kind. You will have one of these on your chapter test. Now we're given a point with a center and a point that it passes through. And you want to write the equation of the circle. So let me give you an idea of what's going on here. So I just drew myself a little circle. It says its center is 3, -4. That's your center. Now it says there's another point on the circle. So it's at -1, -7, which might be about here. If you connect the center to that point, what is it? What is this called? It's a what? Radius. Okay, that's a radius. So you're going to use the distance formula to find the radius. So r is going to be square root of. Think of these as, well, I don't really care what order you subtract as long as you're consistent. But you know this is an x and this is an x. You need to subtract them. So you take your x's. You want me to label them x1, y1, etc.? Okay. x1, y1 would be the first point like we normally had done. x2, y2. All right, so I say x2 is -1. Some of us still haven't got this formula down, and we've been using it all year long. Let's see if we can get it now. -1 minus 3, quantity squared, plus, now I subtract the y's. I do y2 -7 minus -4, quantity squared. Now I'm going to simplify what's in the parentheses. -1 minus 3 is -4. So we have -4 squared. Plus -7 minus -4 would be -7 plus 4, which is -3 squared. This is where we mess it up. Some of you type these and you don't put parentheses around the negatives, and that makes you get your length wrong. You need to know that when you do -4 times -4, what do you get? A positive, right? So, and you know 4 times 4 is 16. So I'm hoping you'll just write 16 and not put it on the calculator. -3 times -3 would be positive 9. And if you do it on the calculator, just type it with parentheses. You add 16 and 9, that's going to give you 25. So we have the square root of 25. And r is 5 then. All right, now we know the h and the k are 3 and -4. So let's write the equation of the circle. It's going to be x minus 3 quantity squared plus, excuse me, y minus -4 quantity squared equals 5 squared. If you already understand how to write it down immediately without, if you know that you have a negative, you're going to get plus, that's fine. The final answer should look like this. X minus 3 quantity squared plus y plus 4 quantity squared equals 25. I think that was the end of the ISM. We're going to go to the packet and do some more together, and I'm going to ask for some of your help. Okay, in our packet, Pen 8, some of this is repetition of what we just went over. This is just a reiteration of if you have a circle, which is a set of points equidistant from a fixed point called the center, radius, the distance between the center and a point on the circle is the radius. The equation for the point, a circle with center at 0, 0, spit it out, is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Then in the next box, we have it if the center has moved. Let's do examples. This one would have a center at 0, 0 because it's in that standard form. H is 0, k is 0. The radius would be r squared is 36. You take the square root of 36 to get r, and that's be 6. You plot 0, 0. We go 6 above, 6 to the right, left, down. And we sketch that circle. Okay. Quick enough, I think. 2. Uh-oh. Got a center at 0, 0. What's that radius? Well, r squared is 5. And we have to take the square root of 5 then. So it is the square root of 5, which is about, we're going to need to know about how big that is so we can plot it. So we grab the calculator and we go second, x squared, and we put in 5. We get the square root of 5 is 2.24, which is almost 2 1/4. So it's going to be a little past the 2, above, below, right, and left. Okay, let's. Okay, did I go too fast? Are we good? Does anybody still need this? All right, third one. Now our center moved. Remember the format says x minus h. So in this case, h is a -1. And it said y minus k. So k is also -1. And it says equals r squared, and r squared equals 9. So r is going to be the square root of 9, which is 3. All right, we plot -1, -1, and we start counting 3 away. Okay. Okay, number 5. Will somebody tell me what the center is and the radius, please? Someone want to give me that? All right, Abby? 2, -3 for my center. Yes. Radius? Yes. Okay, so we're going to go plot 2, -3. And then start counting 6 away. Get your circle. Just do the best you can, making it round. No boxes or diamonds or anything. Okay, will someone else want to tell me number 6, center and radius? Come on, volunteer. Kasha? Yes. Okay, good. H and K are 4 and 3, respectively. And what's the radius? Yes. All right, good. Don't go squaring that. I had somebody say 16 earlier today. I'm going to remember it. Unsquare it. Good job. All right, 4, 3. And then points 2 away. I believe you have to flip the page. Write the standard form of the equation of circle with the given radius whose center is the origin. These should be in the form x squared plus y squared equals r squared, where r is the number that's given. So this would be x squared plus y squared equals 2 squared, which you should simplify it to x squared plus y squared equals 4. I don't want to see, I want you to evaluate the squared number. Okay. Someone want to tell me what number 8 will be then? Volunteer? All right, Evan? C4. But what's going on with number 9? Carolyn? Sure. X squared plus y squared equals 6. Correct. Because r squared equals the square root of 6 squared, and those two things undo each other. So it's 10. All right, Dariana. Good. That's it. All right, we're on to that, I think. Now we have the formula to fill in. We are going to be using x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. And I'd like to see some of you do these for me too, so I can see how we're progressing with this. Someone volunteer for 11? Or I will ask. All right, Abby? Good. Good. Equals 36. Yes. All right, that's it. Did anybody need me to go through writing minus -3 or why this is plus 3? So if you've got it, a lot of kids start to see the pattern and they don't keep writing all the steps. All right, how about doing number 12? Okay, Takasha? Mm-hmm. Don't forget, it's got to be squared, okay? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yep. Yes, that's it. And you've got it without writing it out and then simplifying. I don't care if you guys need to write it out and simplify it. That's totally fine if you just follow that formula. All right, how about number 13? Nathan, thank you. Uh-huh. Is it +1 or -1? -1, and then I got to put a squared out there. Okay. +9, uh-huh. Okay. 100, yep, that's it. Okay, and I like how you were writing saying parentheses, etc., guys. Those of you who are responding, that's good work. You're actually explaining it well. All right, now be careful on 14 and 15. It says the diameter's 8, which means we've got to quick say the radius then is half of that. So for 14, our radius is 4, and for 15, our radius is 2. Okay, so 14. Can you fill that one in for me? Okay. Olivia? If you want to do it all at once and then simplify, that's fine too. Okay. Okay. What's the formula say? Meaning, okay, in the formula, what comes, it says x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. Now, what are we plugging in? Now, you can go ahead and write minus, and then you're going to put in this, though, right? That's totally fine. Now, why did you write +2 here? Okay, so you would do the same thing. Uh-huh. So if you want to go to it with one step, you would have needed to write y plus 6 quantity squared. That's all, but doing this step is fine. Just go to this step after. I just was bugged. I just want to make sure you understood that you're doing this the same way as you do that. Okay? And then what's going to go here? No. The radius is 4, but what's the formula say? No. Okay, and that's what I want to clarify. Hold on. It's okay. It's okay. Just let me explain. This does not mean, you guys, you're probably not the only one. That does not mean 2 times r. R squared means r times r. So if your formula has 4 as a radius, you have to square it or do 4 times 4. So what goes here? What's 4 times 4? 16. Okay, so, but back to here, I got to get this straight. What this means versus what I did to get the radius. Diameter is 2 radii. All right, so if the radius is, if the diameter is 8, then you would divide the diameter by 2 to get the radius. The formula has r squared in it, not 2r. Do you get the difference? No, that's really important, and I'm glad we're explaining it, and especially if anybody's getting confused with that. We want to make sure we get that. If we know the radius, if you're doing the formula for the circle, you have to square it, which means itself times itself. So whatever that number is, you got to multiply it times itself. So like here, the origin, well, that's 0, 0. So that means it's going to just be x squared plus y squared equals r squared. R squared is 2 squared, and 2 to the second. This time it happens to me 2 times 2, which it's not It's just because it's a 2 radius, guys. So I'm not trying to say anything different. I wish that example hadn't been the next one. But let me go on to another one. All right. Yes, sir. What? If you really have to. Okay. Write this equation in a circle. Now, this is the hardest kind because now we've got a center and a point. We got to find the radius by doing the distance formula. All right, so we've got x1, y1, x2, y2. Subtract the x's. -1 minus 3 squared plus, you see how this has got something to do with that formula even? It's like got stuff squared, you're subtracting. I mean, they're all related. -4 minus -4 squared. A distance formula is actually the formula, same formula as the circle formula almost. Okay, r would be the square root of -1 minus 3 is -4, but you got to square that. And then this is 0. All right, so I've got r is the square root of -4 squared would be 16, plus 0 would be 0. I mean, would be 16. Take the square root of 16, you get 4. All right, we got a radius of 4. Now, we take the center, HK, and we do the formula, x minus 3 quantity squared plus y plus 4 quantity squared, and I wrote plus because it was minus -4, equals 4 squared, and I have to simplify that. I'm going to write it out. This was minus -4 squared. The final answer should be x minus 3 quantity squared plus y plus 4 quantity squared equals 16. Okay. One more like that. You got to do the distance formula. Let's make this distance formula easy. How far apart are 0 and 2? 2. 2 squared plus. How far apart is 3 and 0? 3. Okay, it's the same as subtracting them, and who cares if it's positive or negative because we're going to square it. Okay, so 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9. You get this, r is the square root of 13. Do not type it on the calculator. Leave it the square root of 13. Now, we got a center with an h of 0 and a k of 3. So it's going to be x minus 0 squared plus y minus 3 quantity squared equals the square root of 13 squared. All right, I got to simplify that. I would never write x minus 0 squared. I would just write x squared. Now, I can't do anything with that. I'm just going to write y minus 3 quantity squared. And then the square root of 13 squared would simply be 13. All right, then there's 18, 19, and 20. I want to match these to the correct graph. All right, what I'm going to do is look at these graphs and say, well, this radius is not a nice number. This radius is 2, 4. It's by 2's. This radius is 2, 4, 6. So I got a radius of 4, a radius of 6. I don't really know what that radius is. So it's going to be the weird one, which would be this one. All right, so I can tell if the r, remember what r squared then would be 16 here. R squared then would be 36. So I can match the equations now. Number 18 is the picture of B. Number 19, the picture would be C. And then I can double check this one. R squared equals 3, so R would be the square root of 3 for that last one. It's probably going to be A, but let me double check. What's the square root of 3? Well, on the calculator, I type square root of 3, and I get a decimal 1.73. Does that look like this is representing about 1.7 something? Yeah, so this is A. All right, so 20 was A. And that's how you'd have to figure it out, process of elimination. Okay, standard form with a center at the origin. We already went through those. X squared plus y squared equals r squared. So the first one is x squared plus y squared equals 7. All right, I've done enough examples of every type that I expect you to work on the homework now. If you want to ask me something, you certainly may, and I will take more questions tomorrow.